Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on bogradio.fm. We have a very special guest today on the show, all the way live from Freeport, Louisiana. We met at this past LOL CCA conference in McDonough, Georgia last week, and she is a very funny comedian, and you're going to enjoy the heck out of her. Believe me, I promise you. You will. Please welcome to the show the very funny Tonya D. What's up, Tonya?
Ow. What's up? Nothing. I'm good. I'm feeling good. Fine as frog hair split 4 ways. I tell you, if I was in the final, you're going to have to call the ambulance. You hear what I say?
So, Tonya, we were at the Living on Laughter gospel. Now, let me set this thing up. It used to be the LOL GCA, Living on Laughter Gospel Comedy Association, with President Roxanne David. And then on the other side, that's where most of the Black Christian comedians lean towards. And then you have the CCA, the Christian Comedy Association, with David Pendleton, the president of that. And most of the white Christian comedians lean towards that. Now, it wasn't set up like that. It was just where everybody was leaning. So Roxanne and David decided to come together and say, hey, look, let's just come together and make this one big happy family. So now it's the LOL CCA, Living on Laughter Christian Comedy Association. So that's where we met. And what was your takeaway from the conference, Tonya?
At first, being a spiritual woman, I adhere to spirits. I could still see the division. Okay. But after the chaplain spoke on that last day, it was like it opened it up because we're all one in Christ, and we're supposed to come together. But I think coming together was an awesome thing. My thing is, we have to produce from that. It's one thing to say it and we come together for that, but then yet when you see the flyer circulating, the flyer still has the same people. You haven't mixed and mingled the bookings. You haven't put other comics on. It's just still the same thing, because a lot of them have connections. They have connections in different locations. They have connections with other stuff that they can do. But it's a matter of us being able to use everything we talk about. It's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to implement. Yes. So we got to start implement what we talk about, because if you look at the flyers, it's the same people. The same people in rotation, same people. And so when we come to these conferences and we network, what's the whole purpose of networking when it never comes to fruition, right?
Yes. Great point. And that was the first time that the two organizations came together, and it looks like something that's going to continue now. It's just, we're all going to be together. So it's just going to be a work in progress, Tonya. And I'm sure it's going to get better.
Oh, and I believe it. I believe in it too. I believe that it is going to do exactly what God has said it to do. That's my whole thing with it. It's going to do exactly what God has said it to do.
Yes. And you were on a podcast that I heard not too long ago, where you made a comment during the podcast where you said sometimes you have to partner with people who don't look like you. How about expanding on that a little bit?
Because when you look at comedy, because they got urban comedy, then they have different type of comedy. So often, and nothing against my people, sometimes in order to get out there, you have to get from amongst your own, not just white comics, but Hispanic comics, blue comics. I perform with blue comics all the time. I'll never forget, was given the opportunity to perform on stage with Rodney Perry. That's why, he and I are close. He gave me an opportunity, and as soon as I came off the stage, he was clapping. He said, "My girl, you pressure." And then he paused. He said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Well," he said, "You clean." I said, "Yeah, I'm clean." Yeah. And he said, you got 40 minutes. At the time I didn't, but it didn't matter. I said, yeah, because I was going to have 40 minutes if he needed me to have 40 minutes, right? Yeah. So anyway, I partner with whoever, because I believe that truly, I know some people's testimony is that the Lord took them out of the club. I believe mine is to go into the club, because you can get up there and be funny and not be vulgar. You see what I'm saying? As a woman, see, and that's what they're expecting women to do certain things. And I've been through too many things in my life to have to sit up and talk about one thing. Just one thing. That's all you got
Yeah.
going on in your life. One thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I had
Yeah.
so many. I make jokes every day. Every day, I make a joke out of something. Out of
Yeah.
something, I find it. So yeah, partnering with people don't look like me. Don't think that the only way you be funny is if you black. I had a man tell me that I need to get with white comics. I said, why? He said, because you don't cuss. I said, what does cussing have to do with the fact that I was funny? He said, because you don't cuss, you probably going to be with white people all the time. I said, why? I said, did you laugh? He said, yeah. I said, you white people? He said, no. I said, okay, don't do that. Comedy is about funny. Comedy doesn't have a race. It doesn't have a sex. It doesn't have a genre. Comedy is just funny, taking life experiences, making them funny, getting a thought and making it funny.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. I thought today was about. I love watching animals. Right, I like to see animals give birth. I said you wouldn't have to worry about a lot of lady having a whole lot of children if we had to do it like animals, because once the animal is born, they got to lick all the afterbirth and stuff off of them. Oh, we wouldn't have no
Yeah.
more. We
Nah, that would be
no,
the last one.
yeah, that's gross. We throwing up at the sight of blood. Imagine you got to get it off of them in time enough so they don't freeze to death. And
Yeah.
oh my God, I was just looking. I got to find a way to make it funny, but that can be funny as heck. You know what I'm saying? It's just how you got
Yeah.
to work it into a joke, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what you have to do. And you know, I like what you said about, just it doesn't matter what, the setting is. You have to know who you are. You got to do your stuff. And the key is, it's funny. People actually don't care if you're cussing and not really, Tanya. They just want to
I,
laugh. People
right.
don't care. People get in the mindset, they go, like Richard Pryor, for example. I'm going to be like Richard Pryor. So they're going to go up there and start cussing us in every. And that's really not why Richard Pryor was funny. Richard Pryor was a
It's funny.
man talking about his life. His
Like
life experiences were funny. He just happened to cuss.
to cuss. That's
You
right.
see what I'm
That's
saying?
right. That's
The
right.
cussing's not the humor. He's telling you about his life. That's funny. So that's where people get confused. Focus on the funny.
Funny. Right.
And,
And then if cuss words in there were, it's just spice. It's like adding a little season of cayenne pepper sometimes if you add a cuss word in there. That's what I'm learning from Blue Comedy. But if you cussing all the time and I take all your cuss words out and there's no content, then you're really not funny
you're not funny.
to me. Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people get cheap laughs because they're cussing, but they're actually not that funny. And eventually it does catch up with them. Either you know what you're doing or
Right.
you don't know what you're doing. I did a
Right.
show once, Tanja, with a bunch of blue comedians, and I had a similar experience. I came off stage, and it was a mixed crowd. But
Hmm.
man came out. He said, "Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't even realize you weren't cussing for a while there, and I appreciate it because people really don't necessarily want to hear all that stuff.
They
They
don't.
just,
They
you know,
not. I'm talking about the vulgarity. If you ever
yeah, the
be on the stage
vulgarity,
with a
yeah,
bunch of with females and most men think females are going to talk under their clothes, and I don't talk under my clothes unless
yeah.
I talk about a girdle or something, and I talk about the lack of comfort from a girdle. I don't talk like that. So, and I don't cuss anyway. So how can I tell my jokes and be me if I cuss when that's not what I do?
There's a comedian out there. It's a white comedian out there by the name of Brian Regan. Have you ever heard of him?
Mm-mm.
So he started doing his comedy years ago in a club where every night a different type of crowd would come in, right?
Right.
And he noticed on some nights the comedians would not perform because of the quote unquote crowd that came in. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And this guy is a white comedian, and he's trying to tell all the other comedians, he's saying, you're never going to be good if you can't perform in front of any audience.
Any audience. That's it. And make anybody laugh. And that's when you start talking about menopause, a black man or a white man married to a woman can relate to when you start talking about that. Any parent can relate to dealing with teenagers, dealing with children. You can relate issues that happen in life, paying for bills, anything that happens in life, you can relate to it.
Yeah.
Don't none of us like paying taxes or bills.
Now, we came out of COVID-19. I think comedy was a little bit different after COVID-19. Something called cancel culture developed. And when we were at the conference, there's a guy there named Donnie Stopa. I don't know if you had a chance to meet him. He was a blonde guy, and he did this documentary. I'm going to play the trailer for you, and I want you to watch it for me, and we'll come back, and I want you to tell me what you think about the state of stand-up comedy after COVID-19.
Basically, in a nutshell,
definitely feel like, as bizarre as it sounds, like there's a war on jokes right now.
Cancel culture, it's such a misdirected umbrella term. You can't police what is subjective.
oh wow! Like, you kind of have to live your life bulletproof now. You just have to.
Greatest night in the history of television.
You can't say an inappropriate joke that doesn't have the right context.
There's always going to be some sliver of cancel culture, of woke, of political correctness.
You're not funny, and this is how you have to do the joke, because I know how funny jokes work. That's not the joke.
I don't believe people get canceled. I believe that they have a shift in their audience.
Put your hands together for Mr. Joe Rogan!
When people say somebody is canceled, I think it just means, oh, we found they did or said something that most people don't like.
I date a lot of bimbos. That's the problem, man.
So what?
So let's think about that joke in today's culture.
All right, Tonya, let's think about that joke in today's culture. Do you think comedy has changed since COVID-19?
Yes. Comedy has changed since everybody can be offended. Since political correctness came out, comedy changed.
Okay.
Because first of all, this is my whole thing about it. I don't like people with Brillo pad mouths and toilet tissue fillers. People who can dish it and can't take it. I tell my sister all the time, I say, girlfriend, you got a Brillo pad mouth and toilet tissue fillers. I say, if you put it out like that, you should be able to take it like that. And then with social media being how it is, people, if you put your life out there, understand that everybody gonna have a difference of opinion. You can't go out and start cussing somebody out because they had an opinion.
Right.
Everybody has an opinion, so you gonna have to respect somebody. And sometimes the negative opinions will make you reevaluate yourself, not to doubt yourself, but to see it from the other person's perspective.
Right.
We got, one of the things about that, the biggest issue is about the LGBTQ community, right?
Right.
First of all, that's a big issue. You can't say that, because some of my jokes, I got a joke about hot flashes, and I say that my hot flash make me so generous that I would gladly share anyone. I would gladly transfer all of my hot flashes to every trans woman who call herself a woman, seeing how she done put the man in her on pause, right? You see, I did a play on words with menopause, and then the transfer. I transferred all my hot flashes to every trans woman. You see, it's a play on word, but somebody will find a way to get offended. But in the same thing, I said to every trans woman who calls herself a woman, I say she, I use the right pronouns for that community, right?
Yeah.
But you still got them coming at me. Why you coming at me? Come on, child. Ain't nobody coming at you. I'm just saying, why can't I make a joke? I had a couple of comedians, because I'm in a circle. I got gay comedians, I got trans comedians, people that I associate with. And they was like, Tonya, you can't tell gay jokes. I said, well, you can't tell no straight joke.
How about that? I like that.
I'm just saying, don't limit me to saying I can't talk about nothing I ain't deal with. When I have trans women coming at me and attacking me, I can deal with my perspective on dealing with a trans woman without bashing the trans woman, and vice versa. Right. I don't come for you, you don't come for me. I can tell you about my experience. Again, bottom line is, people with Brillo pad mouths got toilet tissue feelings. You can say what you want to say, but you can't deal with nobody saying it back to you. Come on now, please. You put your whole life on the internet for somebody to see. Somebody gonna have a difference of opinion.
Yes, and my thing is, why would you even walk into a comedy club if you've got toilet tissue feelings? I mean, why would you even go in there? Because I mean, people in there,
Why come? Why come if you're not ready to laugh? I tell people all the time, did you have fun yesterday? And they say, yeah. I said, well, you gonna have fun today. That's refund. That's the only refund you're gonna get. Fun from yesterday and fun today. That's the refund you're gonna have, because I don't give money back because you came to a comedy show and you wasn't ready. come to a comedy show and get inebriated, and you too drunk and loud and can't nobody hear. Because I don't believe in giving hecklers any time of day. Of course, as comedians, we should be prepared to deal with them. But my thing is, your club should have security and exit them out.
So
the people sitting with them should get control of them. Yeah.
So when you're doing your set, how do you deal with a heckler?
I don't pay them any attention, because for every heckler, there's 25 to 30 people who want to hear me.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to give. Remember, things that you don't give attention to. And that's one of the things that I try to put in my rider, especially when I go to clubs. Make sure you got security there to deal with them. I write jokes, so I don't have to really interact per se with the crowd, even though sometimes I will.
Yeah.
I don't have to go. I automatically start picking on the crowd. Even as a host, I bring up topics, but I don't pick on nobody in the crowd. I just don't feel that because everybody is dealing with something. So I don't ping up. But if you start, if you start something, come on now. I tell people all the time, I got Jesus in the Peter spirit in me, a Jilla Jeter Peter. I flip a table in a minute. Because you and we don't, and every comic and I think that's the safety about being in the church, is that you don't have to deal with hecklers.
Right.
But you got to learn your depth as a comedian when you take it somewhere else. I think that makes me a stronger comedian, because I can perform in a club, I can perform at corporate level, and I can perform in the church. So it gives me depth as a comedian.
Yes. Yes. And you know, you have some comics out there that will fry up a heckler, and then you have comics, you know, that just try to let security come in. Hey, yo, get this guy out of here, what have you. But I think you're right too. You bring up an interesting point about people going through things like everyone that, like, quote unquote, heckles or speaks during your set out of turn. They're not necessarily coming at you. Sometimes they think that they're helping you, or they just want to be a part of the show, you know what I'm saying? And not trying to be mean, but they do need to be quiet.
They think what they're thinking is that, I can relate to this. And they try to, because the way we speak, you know, when we talk, it sounds like a dialogue, but actually a monologue. I had to tell somebody, hey, I'm on stage memorizing what I've said. We have to be timed. You know, our stuff is a time. You know, our stuff is a rhythm. So we move it like that. And I tell people all the time, in the background, you're talking, I hear that. Yeah. It takes us, we need you all to be focused and listening. So it's for us as a comedian to capture the crowd so that they won't be talking during it. But when you got the bartender still doing their song, or they got a bar in it, the environment makes a difference, especially when they do. That's what I love about different clubs like the Stardome and some of those places whose bartender, it takes place outside of the actual theater. Because when people be at the bar, they get loud, they start having conversations. You can hear that on stage. So but cancel culture is a bunch of children who got participation trophies and felt like they need to be recognized for all the stuff. Their mama and daddies, they never spanked their butt, so they ain't used to getting their feelings. So they used to expressing themselves, but not used to people expressing themselves back. I said that's where that's where parents messed up at. You gotta let children know, when you let them express themselves, they need to understand that somebody else gonna express themselves, and they're not gonna consider their feelings when they express themselves towards you. You got to let them know it just don't work like that in life.
And that's one of the biggest, and I hate to sound like the get off my lawn guy, but when we were growing up, Tonya, our parents didn't care about you being embarrassed in front of your friends. You know, they'll spank you in front of your friends. You know,
wherever you show out, wherever you showed out is where Emma Lou showed out. Right. Because when you think about it, it's embarrassing when you've trained your child, you've reared your child, you've disciplined your child, you've taught your child right from wrong, and they get out and do something different. Yeah.
And we didn't need a therapist. We didn't even know anything was wrong about it. The only thing we knew was we got the chance to go back outside and play and go on with our lives. It's over. You can go on and play now. We get over that stuff. But,
I think a lot of the internet and all this stuff exposing kids to stuff that their minds are not mature enough to handle. They get all the information, but don't know the ins and out of how it really works out. social media tells them they can do this or live like Beyonce, but they don't know what Beyonce, they don't know what Jay-Z now, all they had to go through, and all these famous people. Now with this Diddy trial going on, you see what all these famous people had to go through in order just to be that. I won't compromise. I won't.
Yeah.
So we got to teach our children values and morals. Internet is not teaching them that. They're teaching them, these people, they see these people getting rich quick and they doing all this and they think that's real. That's not how life works. It's not. Let's say we make $20 an hour. We're not gonna get $20. We might get $15 or $14 because 15 are going to taxes and all kind of stuff. We got to teach our children real life at home. If you don't start teaching them at home, they ain't gonna be able to adapt to it when they get in the streets. That's where a lot of trauma started. I take counseling. I know I take counseling because I've been through a lot. But our therapy helps me to be able to express myself to somebody who's not going to be judgmental. Family starts to judging or trying to fix. I just need for you to listen, let me work it out. And that's what a therapist does.
Yes. And, when you think about, the mental part of comedy, one of the things that is part of the territory is bombing. Like, you can't be a comedian and not ever have bombed. I mean, like a bunch of times. How do you deal with that? Well, when that happens to you, how do you get over it right away, or does it take you a couple of days to get over it?
Why am I going to dwell on it? It happened. That's an ED. That means it's past. I need to take. Matter of fact, I bombed on stage. I say, shoot, I need to come down and get off this stage because y'all ain't laughing at me. I need to come laugh at myself. And the way I ended, because I started talking about myself, I said, I'm up here sucking. I'll do it. And when I hear comedians say they ain't never bombed, they lying.
Yeah, they're lying. They're lying.
They lying. They lying. They're lying because we all have bombed.
Oh my goodness.
To say that you've never bombed is a lie.
That's a lie because it's a lie. It's a lie.
And you take it and figure. What I learned is I have to read the room. I have to learn to read the room. I might have some jokes set in my head to tell. I get in the audience and it's not and what I had thought was not it. I don't normally do young people crowd, but I learned how to do young people like petty stuff, anything messy or whatever, how you get at people, they like that. But older people, we deal with our stuff a little different, a little bit more mature people, we deal with it different. It's important for comics to learn how to read the crowd. And when I bombed and I watched the comic after me, before me or whatever, and then sometimes you just have an audience came to a comedy show but wasn't ready for comedy. It might not have been you, it might have been the crowd.
Yeah, exactly that. I did a show in the hood one night and killed. Then the next night I went to the north part of Washington D.C., Northwest, and it was a young white Republican crowd there. And I'm thinking in my mind, okay, I killed last night. Let me see if I can get them. They couldn't relate. They couldn't relate to one single joke, Tonya. So it was terrible. But you got to learn that stuff. You got to learn that stuff.
Watch this. I have made jokes up on stage. Because I'm watching the comic that went before me, because sometimes I'm not always the headliner. I'm watching how they're reacting to the person. So you learn to write on set. You learn to write as you go. I try not to listen to other comics, but I'm watching the crowd.
Yeah.
I just keep watching crowds. Right.
So it's a learning process, like you said. Every comic, the greats have bombed multiple times.
And they'll tell you. They'll tell you they have.
They'll tell you. And you're not going to become great without bombing. That's how you become great. That's part of the territory. But everybody's got their way of dealing with it. Like, some comics, it takes them a while to get over that thing. And others, like just, hey, it happened. I'll be back tomorrow.
There you go. And then to take them same jokes, go to another room and kill it.
And kill it. And you're just building muscle. You're building comedy muscle every time you rebound from a bombing. You're like, okay, that's cool. I got it. And then if you know that it was something you did, you're like, you know what? I did that. That was my bad. And then you just keep it moving. You got family-friendly comedy, you got clean comedy, and you got church comedy. Is there a difference? What's the difference between those three types of clean comedy to you, Tonya?
I think it's all about content. I
Okay.
think it's all about content and the topics.
Okay.
It's how you address it, right? I talk about menopause. Okay. You can talk about that in the church and it don't, but I can take the same joke and tell it in the club. My jokes, every joke that I've ever told, I can say it in the church and I can tell it in the club. It depends on the setting. Like I have a joke about being on the date nap. Okay. I say I'm on the date nap. I done tried all of them tender and then I talk about those date naps, but then I say, and being that I'm a preacher, I said, I decided to go to a ChristianMingle.com. I said, for sure, these apostles, bishops, and elders can't be freaks.
Yes.
They the biggest one. They the biggest one. This brother done got in my DM and done sent me an inappropriate picture. In the club, I say, he sent me an inappropriate picture of his protrusion. In the church, I said, and he sent me an inappropriate picture. And before I knew it, I said, oh, that must be a direct reflection of your faith because it's about the size of a mustard seed. I said, with all the technology, you couldn't zoom in or nothing. Matter of fact, that's not even your gift. If it was, God took it back. And you need to do usher, sing in the choir, or something, but don't show nobody else that. So that's the kind of stuff. See, I can say it in the club, but in the church, them old super duper sanctified people, they'll lose their mind, knowing all the while that somebody being freaky in the church.
Now, see, you said something very interesting right there, Tonya, because when you think about the church, and we're talking about comedy, you have to change up a little bit because you're in a church, but those same people in the church can be in another setting and they left their head off. You see, so that's what I call wearing a mask to me. And just be 100 wherever you are.
If you are, my thing is I'm gonna respect the house of God. I like the way they did it at Willis Church. They put them in the auditorium, put them somewhere, take them out of God's house because that's still God's house. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're gonna do a comedy church, if you're gonna do a Christian show, don't do it in the church because I don't like mimicking preachers. I don't like making fun of, stuff like that because sometimes that could be a sensitive subject because we're making fun of the way a person preaches or something like that. Because sometimes when you say you're a clean comedian or a Christian comedian, they want you probably real churchy. Well, a lot of people don't go to church. So if you can't take that, and I know a lot of Christian comedians who've never performed in a club, and so their depth stays right there. And a lot of Christian comedians, it doesn't really translate into corporate either because a lot of corporate people don't put the faith inside of it, right?
Right.
So it's kind of, so to me, I never understood when they said there's a Christian comedian that's a clean comedian. Well, as a Christian, I'm clean and I'm a comedian. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But I know the difference in the content. Your subjects, don't try to skirt around or sugarcoat the subject when you speak on certain things, right? Sex is one of those blasé things, right? Don't talk about sex between you and a girlfriend, not in the church. That's what? Fornication. If you talk about something between a husband and a wife, that's acceptable. Why? Because the word of God says that marriage bed is what? Undefiled.
Undefiled.
So, but when you start talking about stuff that's promoting fornication, adultery, something like that, that's not funny. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So I stay away from them type of jokes too, period. Because I don't promote fornication. I don't promote nothing like that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though they've made them different, I don't think they're different. All you have to do is, like, everywhere you go, you make sure when you work in your crowd, you make sure the content that you use will coincide with the crowd, your audience, to make sure that what you yield, that your product is laughter. No matter what you put out there, you want your product to yield laughter.
One of the things that you must do as a comedian is own your material, meaning you don't, if you're gonna bother to tell the joke, then tell it. Don't pull back, don't ease up, don't pull up. Go ahead and let it rip. Because that also, I don't know if you're familiar with, well, Damon Cherry. He was at the was at the conference. and Damon, he's one of those type of comedians. It's like, okay, he will tell a joke that might offend some people or make people, oh, I don't know. He doesn't care. And because he doesn't care, he wins the audience over. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to go there, go all the way.
The way there. And Willie Brown does it too. Because Willie Brown, some of his jokes will be risque, right? You get you one of them Mammy Yoakum stocking, long skirt wearing sanctified women in there. Oh, that's just so inappropriate. But it is happening in the church. That we got to stop lying.
Yes.
I said we spend so much time in church prophetizing. That means that's PROFIT, and not really prophesying about what we got. Fornication happening in the church. We got adultery, homosexuality. We got so many things happening in the church, but we want to put a veil over it like it's not real. It's real.
Right.
Address the subject.
Yeah.
Address the subject. Address the subject that when your pastor want to bring the little girl up to the pulpit and shame her because she's pregnant. But I'm like, didn't Jesus just point that out? That, you know, he said, who he was without sin, let him cast the first stone. Why y'all gonna do the same thing? And the one that probably brought her was the one that was committing the fornication with her. Anyway, you can't commit adultery by yourself. I truly believe adultery, it takes two people, but you just had one person you about to prosecute. So this is the stuff I'm talking about. You're saying something about the young lady and her fornication, but you ain't saying nothing about the person who's cheating on their taxes. You ain't saying nothing about the preacher who's got a wife and still sleeping with the little girl on the fifth row and the choir director, and he a man. We ain't saying nothing about that stuff happening. You know what I'm saying? We ain't address the fact that they fighting in church over dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That stuff that's happening for real. You gotta take those tragic moments. And you got to learn to laugh at them to realize how stupid they really are, that you focusing on stuff and fighting over dumb stuff in the church.
Yeah.
In the church.
In the church. I saw a young lady years ago, Tonya. She was the secretary of the church. She got pregnant by one of the members in the church. They made that girl, not only did they take that girl's job from her as the secretary because she was pregnant, they made her stand in front of the church.
They used to do women like that all the time.
She ended up having a miscarriage.
Distress. They do this to women all the time, but who got her pregnant? Because the last person they got pregnant by themselves was Mary. But the Holy Spirit was inactive in there. So my whole thing, where is the one that impregnated her? Where is she at? The word of God tells us when somebody falls, you restore them in love. You sit them down from their position, but you restore them in love.
Yes.
You restore them in love. That don't mean bringing her in front of the church and ostracizing her. That don't mean that, because she couldn't have did this by herself. Excuse my language, but if you doing this sexual act by yourself, ain't that masturbating? That is entertaining familiar spirits, but that ain't adultery. She couldn't have got pregnant playing with herself. This is the stuff I'm talking about, but they need to address this stuff in the church. And in the church, as a Sunday school teacher, I'm gonna start making videos about being a Sunday school teacher, because the same stuff these little children say in school, they say in Sunday school.
Sure they do.
They tell all their family business. Tell it all.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
You with that thing. Oh, they and we get paid nothing. We get paid less than the public school teachers.
It's a shame. It's a real shame. And as you say all of that, Tonya, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with comedian Tonya D on bogradio.fm. This is the Maurice Brown Comedy Show. I want to ask you a little bit about your comedy, because you are a unique comedian, and some people have actually referred to you as the female Bernie Mac in some cases. And I want to ask you this, because we had a chance to talk a little bit at the conference a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to ask you this. Have you ever had personal struggles? Because you talked with me in a real way, and you explained some things that I thought were really interesting that made you a better person. But the personal struggles that you've had, did you have to, and I'm sure you did have to resolve them first within yourself, but do you care to share a little bit with our audience about the personal struggles you've had that's made you a better comedian or a really good comedian?
My comedy career started because I'm a domestic abuse survivor.
Yes.
And I was in therapy. And my counselor, I went from going to therapy once a month to going 4 times a month. I said, I must really be crazy, because this lady got me in here 4 times a month. Yeah, I must be really crazy. Then one day she just gave me this application. She said, girl, you too funny. I said, what you mean? She said, girl, the way you tell these stories, you have me in here crying. It said it went from me helping you to you helping me.
Wow.
Making me realize how, so I started. So my first time, I said, okay. I went on and took the class, but before I went to the class, I went to my girlfriend because I have always wanted to be a comic. Nobody knew that. I always wanted to be a comic, but I didn't, because my ex-husband would never support that. Right. So my girlfriend was having a karaoke, and I say, let me grab the mic. I said, if y'all think about to come up here and sing, I said, I got a biblical voice. I make a joyful noise, and it is only going to be pleasing to the Lord. None of y'all going to like this, right? So I just started talking.
Okay.
Didn't know nothing about writing jokes or nothing. It just so happens I had the whole audience laughing, and somebody from the Funny Bone was in the audience, and he said, hey, I need for you to come to the show. They have a thing called Clash of the Comics in Virginia Beach, where new comics get together and they get audience in there and they tell jokes and they win, right? I didn't win, but I made these people laugh hard. And at that moment, I realized, this is what you're supposed to be doing, Tonya. You've always had, I was the class clown. I graduated number 3 in the class, but I was still class. I was smart, but I was a clown. I cut up all the time. I laughed. People didn't realize the trauma that I was going through in my life at home. I had to take it and flip it. I had to take it and flip it. I couldn't find a way to make getting beat up funny. But I found a way that every time my ex-husband would say something, like the joke that you heard, those things, me paying $1,092.24 is real. All the things after that are just punchlines and jokes to make it funny. Because I'm over it now. I look at, I say it's me paying residual income to my ex-husband for my comedy career. That's how I have to look at it, right? So him telling me calling me ugly, telling me I wasn't gonna ever be nothing, I wasn't nobody gonna ever want me, all these different things. When you find in your mind, the word of God says you fearfully and wonderfully made, marvelous are thy works.
Amen.
That's what the scriptures say. So now when people call me ugly, I said, well, I'm gonna rock ugly so good, I'm gonna make you call Dr. Miami and see if you can get my ugly. You hear what I say? You're not gonna discourage me, because that's one of the things. Believe in, trust God in the process, and believe in yourself. If you do not believe in yourself, the likes, the comments, and all that stuff is gonna mess with you psychologically. I don't care what nobody say. Because the last time I checked, I was paying my bills. I don't care what nobody said. The last time I checked, God was the one giving me my breath. You can say what you want to say. And that's another thing about comedy. It's subjective. It's not going to be funny to everybody. Just not. There's some very well-known comedians that are out there mainstream and making big money. I just don't think it's funny. I don't like all the vulgarity. I don't like all the tearing down of people. But can a sister do it? Yeah, I choose not to.
Amen.
But when I tell my joke, I'm gonna tell my joke, because that was one of the things about the conference where I was like, you know what, Tonya, be who you are. The way God has made you, he made you that way, to be a comic that way. Tell your joke. So I know a lot of people's like, when I told my joke, I said, oh, I thought we were supposed to be promoting marriage. Well, marriage breaks up. Divorce happens in churches all the time. Let's not act like it don't. And let's not act like men don't have to pay alimony. But guess what? You got a woman here that has to pay alimony every month. And I'm gonna remind y'all, $1,092.24. That's a lot of money. That's more than some people make in a month.
Yes.
So if I could be mad about it, but instead of being mad about it, I write jokes about it. And so, yes, I had to be healed. I had to be healed, accepted that this is what it is, so I could write this joke. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't sound funny. I'll sound disgruntled. Right. That's why in my story, I say, had an evil spirit, and I said, no, Tonya, you have been delivered. So, I go that part, and I said, well, since I was there, you know what I'm saying? That's the petty part stepping in. So you let out of, because I have no animosity toward my ex-husband. Now, we can't sit at the table and sing kumbaya, but I have no animosity towards him. I have no respect for him because of what he takes from me, only because of the conversation. I haven't found a way to make that conversation funny yet as to why he went after me for money. I can't find a way to make that funny.
Okay.
Not
it'll
yet.
come. It'll come.
Yeah. Believe that it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It'll definitely come. And as we're talking about how you are able to flip things, you have a comedy show. You actually host comedy shows in Shreveport monthly, right?
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. This comedy show started because, first of all, I couldn't get nobody to book me. Nobody would book me. I would be open mic after open mic, and I didn't want to be an open mic comic. I wanted to be taken serious as a comic. Yeah. And and I talked to Tina Graham. I don't know if you know Tina Graham. Tina Graham is the godmother of urban comedy. She was one of the founders of Def Comedy Jam and all of that. But Tina Graham said, she said, start your own. I didn't know how to do it. So I went to one of the black comedy clubs and here, not a comedy club, but a black club on is Lake Street Bar and Grill. Guy, I go to class, but he don't charge me nothing for the room. But he gets all the alcohol and all the food, the money for that. And I get the money for the comedy, the door, right? I get the door, but I have to pay the comics. In almost 3 years, I have yet to make a profit, but I don't stop it because I believe consistency pays off, right? Yes. Even though when I get discouraged, I was even a little bit discouraged now because, normally I would be doing gigs that are balanced off so I can pay for this. I'm not getting like that no more. You know what I'm saying? It's not, it done slowed up a little bit. The way of putting yourself out there to get booked and everything it happens. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And then, so I work a full-time job. And that goes into open mics. I can't make it to open mics now. They start at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I have to be to work at 6 o'clock. That means getting up, because I live 40 minutes away. So that means getting up at 4 o'clock, getting on the road by 5 o'clock to get there for 6 o'clock.
Woo!
See what I'm saying? Wow. And then I like now when I finish with you, I'm gonna go to the gym because I have to. I'm on the road. You have to be in shape. You have to be healthy. I'm 55 years old. Okay. Everything on me is 55. So I feel it sometimes, but what I don't want is extra weight. I don't want high cholesterol. I don't want high blood pressure. Yeah. I don't want any of that. How do I come back? I changed my diet. I don't eat fried foods. I don't eat sugar. Don't drink soda. I gave up a lot of stuff. Well, let me change it back. I discipline myself on when to eat fried food. If I can't work out, I can't do something after, I don't eat it. Okay. Makes sense. I can't get a workout, I don't eat it. So I have to make sure I choose hotels that have gyms in them. I choose places where good, so I can work it out while I'm there.
So you have this show here coming up.
Sunday.
That's going to be Father's Day.
Father's Day this Sunday. I do it every third Sunday, so the date changes. So every third Sunday of the month, Tonya D's Fun Zone. Doors open at 5. Show starts at 6. The tickets are $10, but it's $15 at the door. And I try to promote ticket sales because I don't know who's coming. I've had to cancel shows because nobody showed up, but I still had to pay the comics because, especially if they travel from out of town, I don't want them coming in. So I try to show them. Now, the young lady in the middle is actually a young singer who a lot of young vocalists and stuff around here, I allow them to showcase their talent. I don't have that kind of money to pay them, but they'll come through, get followers, probably get bookings after showcasing their talents, because a lot of people don't even know they exist. So while people are waiting to do comedy, listen to comedy, because I try to start at exactly at 6 o'clock. By 6:15 or 6:20, guess what? My first comic, I'm up there now, warming the crowd up, and my first comic is gonna come up. By 8 o'clock, we ought to be out of there. By 8 o'clock, we done, because I try to make sure I respect the fact that people got to go to work. And it's not dark at 8 o'clock yet, so we can leave. It's still daylight or whatever. So that's what I try to promote that. And I try to push the show. So many people say, oh, there's nothing to do in Shreveport. Oh, there's nothing for Christians to do. A lot of people won't come to the place because it's actually a bar. It's Lake Street Bar, but they forget about the grill part because he sells food. And yes, he does sell alcohol. The one thing he told me on that night that I have my show, they sell so much food. They don't sell very much alcohol, but they sell a lot of food. Okay. So it's about people being willing to go into different locations because it is a clean show. So the link, I think is, I'm going to try to get that on the screen here for everybody. To buy the ticket? To buy the ticket, yes. So let me see. This is the link right here to get the ticket. So if you guys are in the Shreveport, Louisiana area, hey, hit that link, copy it down, and go check out Tonya D's Father's Day comedy show. And it's going to be Sunday, June 15th, 315 Lake Street, downtown Shreveport. And if you've ever seen Tonya D in action, you know it's going to be off to hizzy. because Tonya, she doesn't play. She just tell it 100 every time. Tonya, what advice do you have for young comedians out there that want to do it right? Trust yourself. Trust. First of all, my thing is faith in God. Believe for God to show you, open doors, and do everything that. Listen to Him first, because the Lord will wake me up in the middle of the night and give me a joke.
Okay.
He'll give me a joke, and I can't be concerned about what other people may think about the joke. I have to tell my joke.
Yes.
Even at the conference, you got a lot of people like Sean. My joke about it. The joke about he sent me an inappropriate picture of his protrusion because that's giving me a visual. Well, little boy wearing them skinny jeans, you already got a visual. Then Deacon Earl over there with them singing pants, and he giving you a visual. Come on, you got all kind of visuals in church. What we doing here?
Unfortunately, Tonya, yes, ma'am, absolutely.
And Sister Pearline church dressed 2 sizes too small. That's a whole lot of visual. You see what I'm saying? We get visuals all the time. So you gotta be true to yourself. You got more in your life going on that you don't have to make up anything. Even from I do a joke now about my son calling me a snitch. I tell him I'm not no snitch. I'm an informant. I'm an informant. You should have ran that by me before you decided to commit a crime. This supposed to be like we supposed to meet up so I can tell you. Like I told myself, you be putting me out on the corner like they did Ricky and Boys in the Hood, because I'm not gonna go with you. They ain't even got to give me no double whopper with cheese, onion rings, and no strawberry shake, and no apple pie or nothing. I'm just gonna tell because I'm not gonna go to jail for nobody. I promise you, orange is not my color at all.
I love it.
I eat oranges, so. But I need for them to believe in themselves and don't look at another person's journey, how they go through, because the word of God says, I know the plans that I have for you.
That's right.
If God knew you in the privacy of your mother's womb, everything about your life was already mapped out. Don't try to emulate other people. That's why he said, cover not thy neighbor's riches. Don't cover what they're doing, because you don't know what they had to go through to get it. Are you willing to make the sacrifices that they made? You want the outcome, but you don't want to know. You don't want to do what it took to get to the outcome. That's a process. And so we have to know the process. So even from starting this room because nobody will book me, or people promising you put somebody on and they got their own show and they never book you. Oh, I'm gonna hit you up, I'm gonna hit you, and they never do. They lose your number. But the moment they see you with somebody big, they hit you back up again. I'm like, okay, what you think? And then I realized you have to know who you got. Opportunists. Right. I got a lot of people that I associate with that's rolling big. Every now and then I shoot them a prayer or I send them a text. One of my things I always say is, do your thing, chicken wing. And when I hit them up with that, they already know I'm praying for them. I'll be at a club getting ready to pray right before my set. These comics will touch me on my shoulder because they know I'm getting ready to pray. They say, because I ask them if they want to pray. I don't force it on nobody. But I know that when I go up on the stage, that it's a ministry.
Yes.
People don't understand the relief that you have when you laugh. You can't change nothing that has already happened. That's why I tell people who went through trauma in your life, get over it.
Yeah.
My father was not there for me. My father chose not to be a father to me. And when I reached out to my sisters on Facebook, one of them reached back out to me. Now he became a part of my life, but he didn't even know it. Why? Because he had dementia.
Okay.
He didn't know he was in my life. One time you chose to forgive me, and this time you couldn't remember me because, the memory gone. But guess what? That made me an even stronger woman. Made me stronger by myself. I don't throw pity parties for myself. I do like King Hezekiah. I cry to God, and then I turn around, wash my face, and go on about my business.
Yes, ma'am.
I just can't. Do I have it all together? No. Do I have issues? Yes, I do. But my problem are not third world problems. I don't have problems that keep me from laying down at night. I don't have problems that are so detrimental. And if we all can learn to laugh at ourselves, we learn to laugh. I have a joke about, because I'm losing weight now. And I said, but the Lord sent a thorn to buffet my side. I said, so everybody call me TT now. Oh, not because I'm anybody's auntie. It's because my thighs touch. And women who have lost weight, or even women who thighs touch, can relate to that, and they'll start laughing automatically because it cause you have holes in your pants. It's a lot of stuff. So just different stuff that happen in your life. Even from the hair fat or going natural, I cut all my hair off and went short, but yet I do a video. It's just different stuff. I can't handle hot flash. I can't wear makeup. I can't have adhesive. I can't wear band-aids. I'm over 50 years old. So guess what? My system, my whole system has changed, but for young comics, I started comedy at 48.
Okay.
48.
Yeah.
And so I'm a babe. I'm still young in the comedy game. So I respect people who have been doing it longer than me.
Yeah.
But I ain't a young'un when it comes to life. So I have a lot of life experiences that I can transfer into jokes. I got so much experience that is still relevant now that can become church. I can do a joke about church hurt. I can do a joke about a whole lot of different stuff, but a lot of the church is not ready to deal with a church hurt joke. I could do a video about it, but then because they're watching social media, and if somebody's offended by my joke, then they won't book me. If I do, because there's so many people that are not open-minded, they're closed-minded. You got to be open-minded. You got to learn to deal with whatever that matter is, so you can get beyond it. I deal with it through laughter.
And I believe that's the way God would have us do it. If you read the book of Proverbs, it says laughter is like a medicine. So, Tonya, I couldn't agree with you more. Tonya D, comedian Tonya D, on the Maurice Brown Comedy Show. And we're going to have to dip out. But, Tonya, it has been a great conversation. I have enjoyed every moment of the convo. And if you folks out there are just now coming in and you're like, man, I missed Tonya D. Not really, because this evening you can listen to the entire conversation on Spotify and where all major podcasts are heard. And also on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. on 9 a.m. Eastern on bogradio.fm, you can listen to this interview with comedian Tonya D.
Also, can they follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok? On TikTok, it's comedian Tonya D. On Facebook and Instagram, just put in Tonya D, the ton of fun, and it should pop up. If it doesn't, put the @ symbol, TONTHE, comedian, ton the comedian. It's on the bottom of that flyer, the @ symbol, TONTHE, comedian. My name is Ton. My nickname is Ton. That's why I say Ton the comedian. Tonya D, the ton of fun. At the bottom, you can see, oh, that's my email address. You got the old flyer. But anywho, the @ symbol, the @ symbol, TONTHE, comedian. That could get you on Facebook and Instagram. TikTok is comedian Tonya D. And you're going to see these dimples that don't change. This smile is going to always be the same.
Amen. I love it. Comedian Tonya D on the Maurice Brown Comedy Show. Thank you so much, Tonya, for hanging out with us. May the peace of Jesus Christ continue to be with you and your family. God bless you.
God bless you too. You have a good one.